The country's metros will become key battlegrounds in the upcoming local government elections. The Democratic Alliance has put forward Dr. Mpho Phalatse as the party's candidate for Johannesburg. The Good Party has announced that its Secretary-General, Brett Herron, will run as the party's mayoral candidate in Cape Town. Well, for more on this, we're joined by both Dr. Phalatse and Brett Herron. Good evening to both of you. Thanks for your time and congratulations on your nominations. Perhaps let's just begin with the state of local governance. Both of you are running for what are quite prominent and significant positions in a local government that has taken a knock for many different reasons and in many ways is in a state of disrepair. Perhaps a little bit better in the metros of Cape Town and in the metros of Johannesburg. But Dr. Phalatse, your overall view on where we are with the state of governance and what it is that you are offering and putting on the table.
Cathy, thank you. Thanks for having me. Cathy, I've spent the last few months engaging widely across sectors in the city, particularly, and outside the city, speaking to experts to look at what the challenges of the city are. And it has emerged that most of the city's challenges are of a governance nature. So a lot of it has to do with things that are not in place, that are supposed to be in place. It's behavioral issues, it's operational issues, it's structural issues, but it's present in all departments and in all entities. It's almost as though we need to do a re-engineering of how we do things in the city, and that's what's leading to the decay and the decline in service delivery. So a lot of the issues we have can actually be resolved with relative ease if we've got the right expertise at the helm to pull the city together. With a city as big as Johannesburg, it can be quite difficult to address particularly fragmentation. You know, each department wants to do its own thing, but you can't win that way. You need to be able to see the codependencies. You need to be able to direct your administration to work together to help you achieve what you need to achieve. And I believe that's the biggest gap that we have. Of course, there are other challenges, but I believe if we can start with the basics, it will really take us a long way.
Brett?
Well, I think, in the city of Cape Town, there is a perception that it is a well-run city and that it is providing services across the city in an equitable way. And the reality is that is not the case. The city of Cape Town is now ranked on Corruption Watch's list as a top 5 city where, in terms of the number of corruption reports to them, and that has increased substantially since 2020. There are huge problems with governance and accountability in the city of Cape Town, where the city of Cape Town is the only city or town in the whole country that refuses to answer parliamentary questions about tenders and operations. It's a city that blocks residents' emails when they don't like the questions. And it is a city where infrastructure is failing to such an extent that families have sewage flowing through their homes. Play parks are killing children because the equipment is not maintained. On the Cape Flats and in townships, the roads are more potholes than roads. So the city of Cape Town has undergone a massive decline over the last 2 or 3 years. And we would like to turn that around and be given the opportunity to turn it around.
Now, Dr. Phalatse, of course, being the mayoral candidate, you are not new to some of the politics of the city. You were previously the MMC in the city council under Herman Mashaba as the mayor of Johannesburg. And you were also suspended under him for remarks that you had made around Israel. If I recall correctly, statements that you are a friend of Israel and that the city of Johannesburg is a friend of Israel. The opposition benches were quite aggrieved by that and in fact called for your removal as the MMC. How do you see this playing out, and do you think that will not be used against you for why you should not be the mayor of Johannesburg?
Cathy, you know, I can expect that a whole lot of different things will be used against me for why I should not be the mayor. It's politics and it's the nature of politics. I believe at the time of the Israel statement, I did clarify the confusion that was created by the reporting that had no context. I was made to have said something that meant we picked a side between Israel and Palestine, or that I was even addressing the conflict in the Middle East, which I was not addressing at all. The Democratic Alliance has always been clear. We believe in a two-state solution where the Middle East conflict is concerned. We don't get involved. Our focus is local, and there is no way we can get involved in politics outside of South Africa. However, we can expect, you know, people will use whatever they want to use, particularly if they cannot fault you on your work. People will try all sorts of things. It's the nature of politics. But I don't want to focus on those things. The focus now is to hit the ground running and engage with residents, find out what their issues are, and find out how we can work with them to turn the city around. So the next few weeks, depending on when the elections are going to be crucial in us consolidating our plans. The party will share its manifesto soon. That's really where we want to spend our energy. Naysayers will always be there, and there's nothing we can do about it.
The former mayor has described the Democratic Alliance upon his leaving as being a party that is not truly committed to the transformation agenda of this province, of the city. And that's going to be a big thing. How are you going to convince potential voters otherwise?
Well, the Democratic Alliance has been named as the top leading political party in the country. 5 best-led municipalities in the country are DA-led municipalities. So, you know, the data is there. A report has been released. I don't think that we even need to debate the issue. It's quite clear that where the DA governs, we govern well. And that's the promise that we want to bring to the city of Johannesburg. I'm not going to focus on utterances that were made by other people. We will focus on presenting the facts, and we will focus on really selling our value proposition to our prospective voters so they can partner with us in turning the city around.
Brett, how much of a challenge are you expecting in Cape Town, especially, you know, at the end of the day, it's all down to numbers?
It is down to numbers, and we think that there is great shifting in voter support and within the Western Cape and in Cape Town in particular. We've seen it in by-elections that we've contested over the last 2 years since we were established. We're seeing that voters are increasingly disillusioned with the DA and the ANC, the old parties. They're looking for a new way to engage with their leaders and their politicians. They're looking for politics unusual. So I think that the numbers are, the situation is very fluid, and we'll be going out to every community in the Western Cape and in Cape Town in particular, where I'll be running for mayor, and engaging with every community and trying to persuade them that they should give their support, and that the DA has had a 15-year run of this government, and that in that 15 years, we can ask people whether they've experienced a better life. I think that what I see on the ground when I go and visit communities is huge neglect in the vast majority of communities in Cape Town, massive neglect, and that those communities are now sick and tired of promises that are never delivered on. For me, the numbers are fluid, and we're looking forward to a very good contest and a good, clean fight.
During the time, Brett, that you are speaking about where, you know, governance has fallen into decline under the DA, you were there for a portion of that time before you moved over to the Good Party. Again, you know, off the face of it, how do people make a distinction? When is it just politics at play? And when can people actually take you at your word as a politician?
So when we were there, yes, we were there, and we were making really good progress in the city of Cape Town in the key delivery areas of housing, of jobs, of services to poor communities, of the budget that was friendly to poor communities and fair to the middle class. And we were a government that had successive clean audits under Patricia de Lille. She's the only mayor of Cape Town to have had 4 successive clean audits. And yes, things collapsed rapidly after we left. I mean, in 2018, Cape Town's public transport service was regarded as the jewel of Africa. Today it is non-existent. It has collapsed completely. In the housing space, we were, in the period when I was responsible for housing, I doubled the housing delivery numbers, and that was the year that, for the first time in Cape Town's history, we not only met housing delivery targets, but exceeded them. Those numbers have collapsed completely. The city of Cape Town is now delivering 2,500 housing units a year. It's completely inadequate. So you can easily distinguish between the period when we were there and making progress. Not that everything was perfect, but we were making really good progress in the right direction. And that has completely collapsed because the current administration, the DA administration, has cancelled most of the work that we've done and have taken a different direction.
Brett Herron is the Good Party's mayoral candidate for Cape Town. Dr. Mpho Phalatse is the DA's mayoral candidate for Johannesburg. You'll be seeing a lot more of these faces as they try to win over your hearts and minds for mayorship in both cities. So that's as we head towards the local government elections. And just a reminder that the Independent Electoral Commission has extended the time for parties to submit their payments and nominations for the local government elections to 9 p.m. tonight. More than 97 parties and 353 independent candidates are known to be contesting those polls.